We good on this
We
one.
are live
Uh,
in the place to be. Kofi Pie Side TV. I might have to put some bars together for your intro.
yeah, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Before we even get far, I'm just knock this out real quick. Uh, okay. Alright. This probably gonna tell me I'm abusing that mother. Stop me from sharing, man. Facebook said I'll be abusing the app.
Too much sharing.
Mm-hmm. It sure pop up and stop me from doing it quick. Yeah, I'm abusing. Man, you got the function up before to use. You you don't want to use. Alright, shoot. Hold on, y'all. Let me do this.
YouTube said you're going too hard on the presentations.
That night, it is. Mm-hmm. Damn. That's my dang son. I'll call him back in a minute. Uh, let me kids. Somebody must have put it in the Dagger Squad thing. I think I seen something pop up on here. Hold on, y'all. We finna get started, y'all. I'm just trying to get this out the way now. I thought I had this man. Ain't more. Well, I did, ain't more. Dang, that's all shit. I ain't studying this. Alright, alright, let me leave him here. Go back over here to YouTube world. Alright. Y'all got to excuse me too. I ain't combed my beard, my hair, I don't even care. But I wanna say ETM Hotel, Dua Aku, Fatmo Alafiye, Fatmo Iwa Pele, or Fatmo Iwa Riri. Majuba Iba E Ilakba, Majuba Iba E Ilakba, Majuba E Egungun, Majuba Iba E Egungun, Egungun Kiki Egungun. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also want to say Black African Power family. Appreciate y'all for tuning back in to the Kofi Side TV. We have another great show, informative show. Hope y'all be able to. Hope y'all enjoy the show. I got brother Satep and Rod, brother Sutek on the panel. Brother Satep and Rod will be joining me with part four of how white folks got with part four of five series. So if you Satep, not Satep, but because you finna be doing some talking, Sutek, you got something to say?
Nah, man, I just want to say peace to the family, peace to the panel in the chat. Just ready to get into it. This should be interesting. That's tag team presentation.
All right. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Peace to those is in the chat right now. Please help us share the show. To those, I mean, it don't matter to me if you share the show, but I mean, share it. If you're gonna share the show with some people that you think might enjoy the presentation and won't be disruptive in the chat.
We do not tolerate Iwa Baruru on the Kofi
That's right.
Pasa family channel.
That's right.
All right, no, it's fit.
Right.
When man becomes possessed of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself.
Your screen ain't sharing, Kofi.
Oh, it ain't, man. Oh. I don't know what's going on with me today, man. I'm sharing stuff like, and see, that's probably why I ain't sharing nothing. Cause shoot. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let me know when it's sharing out there. All right, I see it sharing on the other end.
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding had not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. Raising my team, red, black, and green, queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring forth another hit, I should. I'm raising my team, red, black, and green, queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring forth another hit, I should.
I should. Right now, Black Power. All right. Stop sharing my screen for a second. And well, I ain't gotta stop sharing my screen. I just need to go over here. We had some technical difficulty with my brother thing, but we got it all figured out right now. Let me know if your thing's showing up, Sapip.
Yeah, I see it. Can you make it to where it's like full screen? Because I know it's like maybe 2 slides where the letters is kind of small. I can see this though.
Yeah, I can. Well, you want me to wait till you get to it? I can enlarge it when we get.
Okay. Yeah. Let's
That's
do
like
that.
real big. All right.
Yeah. We'll wait.
Okay.
All right, family. So, yeah, this is my part of the part 4 or 5 of how white folks got so rich, dealing with the property, and housing, and I just wanted to share with y'all an article that was presented to me by a European, about housing in this black community in Cincinnati. I'm in Cincinnati, so we gonna deal with a little part of Cincinnati where white folks basically got rich off the black people that was trying to progress. So okay, so we have the destruction of Cincinnati's first black suburb. African Americans started coming to Cincinnati more than a century ago, fleeing the violence and economic constraints of the South for job. Let me see.
Hey, you might have to lock it on your screen, Kofi.
Yeah, okay. Y'all gotta excuse me today.
Kofi all off.
Yeah, and I'm gonna mute myself too while I'm doing it. I'm sure y'all give me just a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me go back. Stop sharing. I'm gonna mute my.
Okay, it's back, Kofi. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start on over. All right. The destruction of Cincinnati's first black suburb. African Americans started coming to Cincinnati more than a century ago, fleeing the violence and economic constraints of the South for jobs and homes. All right, you can go to the next slide. Okay, this is a map of Cincinnati, and the area that we're going to be talking about is where the arrow is. And Kofi, you can zoom in on this one because I wanted to see the name of that area. Cincinnati is pretty big, and we got like 52 neighborhoods. Zoom in one more time. Okay, so where the arrow is pointing at is a little red dot, and this village or neighborhood, what they call out here is Lincoln Heights, Zone 4, Lincoln Heights, and that's the area right there. Okay, you could zoom back out and then go to the next slide. I just wanted to give everybody a visual, and Cincinnati is right the southern, southwest Ohio. So it's the bottom corner. If you're looking at Ohio, it's the bottom left-hand corner on the map. You go to the next slide, Kofi. Okay. Now we're gonna deal with the zoning. Redlining and other restrictive zoning laws prohibited black families from buying homes in many of the city's neighborhoods. So when developers started selling off lots of uncorporated land north of Cincinnati to black buyers, it seemed like a good opportunity. Let's see, one of the few paths to homeownership in the segregated North. So basically, you know, with the zoning issues and stuff like that, the southern part of Cincinnati, a lot of the white people was buying it. A lot of the Europeans was buying. So the more north you went, the more the land was undeveloped, and they was offering that to black buyers. And we all know cities are developed by rivers. You know what I'm saying? Even as far back as Kemet, cities are developed along the river. So most of the neighborhoods along the river of Cincinnati, from Ohio to Kentucky, those weren't they weren't selling those to black buyers. So it was kind of segregated. You go to the next slide, and if you want to click that little arrow at the top, it'll just bump it right to the next slide. So you ain't gotta. Yeah, there you go. All right, primitive land. The land had no paved roads and no street lights. Few homes had running water. Sorry, this is kind of small. Let's see. Few homes had running water, and there was no police or fire protection. Carl Westmoreland, who grew up in this village in 1940s, remembers watching black men rush over a hill toward a burning home with a small fire cart they bought. They didn't save it in time, but the neighborhood banded together and rebuilt the house together. So basically, and we'll get into who Carl Westmoreland is. He's a famous person out here in Cincinnati. So basically, the land was undeveloped, like I said before, and they offered that land that was undeveloped to the black buyers. And they didn't have any police, they didn't have no fire department or none of that. So what they did was they formed a community to where we're gonna help each other out, like we used to do back in the day. And I think I don't know who that was. It might have been a brother T'Challa that was talking about how you can't even knock on somebody's door nowadays and ask for something because people gonna get upset with you. It ain't no community no more. Like you can't you knock on your neighbor's door, he may look at you crazy, like, what you want, man? Don't be knocking on my door, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, I do that sometimes. Ain't nobody knocked on my door, but I know I feel a little weird. I don't know what happened to where it may just be a disconnect from the community, because I grew up in a community where, you know, you can knock on somebody's door and get something. You know, you need some bread, some sugar, whatever, like, you know, egg or two, you know. So I don't know where the disconnect happened at, but in our earlier stages, we was definitely practicing that. So you go to the next slide. All right, so the struggle. Residents of Lincoln Heights first tried to incorporate in 1939. Men were sick of working 2 jobs and then coming home to the chaos of open sewers and burning buildings and dark streets. Someone needed to put in paved roads and electricity and inspect buildings to make sure they were up to code, and the county government nearby had no interest in doing any of that. So basically, you know, again, the land is undeveloped. They didn't even want to incorporate the village into Cincinnati, so you know they can develop the paved roads, street lights, policemen, and firemen. You know, and then we're gonna get it. And I want to kind of deal with some of that too. You know, I'm gonna wait till another slide to deal with that. But yeah, go ahead, go to the next slide, because I'm gonna let y'all know how you get all that taken care of, incorporated. So this we just sped forward a little bit to 1947, where they did incorporate them in. Okay, when it incorporated in 1947, this village called Lincoln Heights was the first primarily black self-governing community north of the Mason-Dixon line. Today, the city has one of the highest concentrations of African American residents in the state of Ohio. According to the census, 95.5%. Lincoln Heights thrived for a while, producing poet Nikki Giovanni, songwriters the Isley Brothers, and scholars Westmoreland, who now helps the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody familiar with the Isley Brothers. They come from Lincoln Heights. You know, a lot of people may not have known that. I'm not familiar with Nikki Giovanni. The names sound familiar, but I'm not too familiar with her. And like I said, I got Carl Westmoreland, his own slide, and then we'll see. I'll show y'all some stuff on the National Underground Railroad, the Freedom Center. Now, I have not been there, which I feel bad about, but I definitely do plan on making a trip over there and seeing. I just don't like seeing all that slavery stuff, because I mean, I done seen so much of it growing up and all that stuff. But I still need to go there and take my kids over there, or whatever. But I just really don't. I like seeing us at our height, not at our lowest. But it's good for a reminder, I guess. Go ahead, Kofi. Okay, the self-governing community. They decided. Oh, hold on. They decided to form their own city. A city, a village, a place where black men and women could respond to the civil need or civic needs of their neighbors. A place where black children could grow up to become the mayor, the chief of police, the safety director. Westmoreland wrote in a piece for the now defunct Nip magazine, and that's a quote from Westmoreland. You go to the next one. Okay, the lockout by Lachlan. Okay, now Lachlan is, I want to say Lachlan is maybe 5 minutes south. You could probably walk there in like 2 minutes. Like it's right there. Okay, excuse me. Local residents filed the proper papers with Hamilton County, but just a few minutes before the filing deadline, white residents from the nearby city of Lachlan filed an objection. Lachlan residents were worried that should Lincoln Heights be improved, its business district will rival Locklands, according to Westmoreland. Now, this is when I want to start. This is the slide, and the next one maybe where I wanted to start talking about that. Now, so the Europeans that lived in Lockland did not want to see Lincoln Heights get developed, because when you have a business district, whenever you have businesses and you have housing in the same village, you know, that's when your taxes come in. So taxes are very important, and taxes have been in place since the beginning of time. When I was a lot younger, I didn't agree with taxes. I'm like, why are we paying taxes? Taxes are necessary. Okay. I don't agree with like, say if I had $1 million, and if I made $1 million, that means I got to get 35% to the government. I don't agree with that. You know, I don't like, people always want to say, oh, tax the rich, get to the poor until they get rich. You know, and I'm not rich. I'm just saying, if I was to make that type of money, I don't want to be giving 35% of it to no damn government. Now, let me go back to the small scale. When you have businesses and housing in the same village or whatever, the businesses get taxed and you pay property tax on the homes that you own. Now, if there's no businesses in that area, then the property tax goes up. Okay? So if your property tax goes up and you're not able to pay your property tax, because this village is very small, you can't get your roads paved. You know what I'm saying? Your police officers, they get paid by that. Fire department, they get paid by those taxes. All this stuff get paid by taxes. So people want to know where their tax money go to. You got to look into it and see. And even the schooling, your tax money goes into schooling. If you own a home, you can go to your county auditor site and you look up your specific home and you go to your property tax and you'll see a breakdown, a pie chart of exactly where the percentage of your property tax goes to. So you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to deal with that a little bit, and I'm gonna come back to it. Okay, zoom in on this because I want to show them how close Lockland and Lincoln Heights is. I mean, you could throw a rock at it. It's crazy. So the arrow is Lincoln Heights, and I just, it was like a little plane or something right there. That's where Lincoln Heights is. So they right there. They right by each other. And it's a lot of Europeans with money over there in Wyoming too. Just let y'all know. But go ahead, you go to the next slide. Wyoming is they got that real developed over there. Okay. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Or you know what, Kofi, you ain't gotta zoom out, just scroll down. That way I can see all of it. There you go. Okay. Then as Lincoln Heights residents waited to incorporate, the county allowed white landowners nearby Woodlawn to incorporate, giving much of the western part of what would have been Lincoln Heights to the white town. Then the county gave much of the eastern part of what would have been Lincoln Heights to another white town, Evendale, including the land where the Wright plant was located. The residents of Lincoln Heights challenged this move in court but lost. Now, as you can see, they gave the land away right of Lincoln Heights and the land away west of Lincoln Heights. Now, the Wright plant that was located on the right, that was I believe that was damn, I don't want to say GE, but it's basically like they built it was like an aviation plant. So they built parts for jets and stuff like that. So you know, that's a lot of money. And if that was incorporated in Lincoln Heights, that was the development that they was talking about. Now just imagine if you got a big corporation like the Wright plant in Lincoln Heights. All that tax money is going to develop the neighborhood that you're going to get from that big corporation. They created a whole nother place and called it Evendale. And it's literally, you got 75, and then to the west of 75 is Evendale on that plant right there. It's crazy, man. Go ahead. You go to the next slide. Okay, back to Westmoreland. Westmoreland remembers Lincoln Heights. Westmoreland remembers Lincoln Heights residents slowly realizing that they were going to have to fight for the land that they had widely been considered theirs, and that, as African Americans in the 1940s and 50s, they were probably going to lose. And y'all know at the time in the 1940s and 50s, that's Jim Crow era. That's we you set up to lose right there. I mean, it was still people working on plantations in the in them time periods in the South. That's why everybody was fleeing north. So they was fighting a losing battle and they knew it, but they tried. You feel me? They tried. You go to the next slide. You went back to the previous one. I should be on slide 12, I think. Yeah, go to 12. Okay. Now, here is the brother Carl B. Westmoreland. Carl B. Westmoreland is an American community organizer, preservationist, and a senior historian at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. In 1967, he was one of the founding members of the Mount Auburn Good Housing Foundation, with money provided from private donations. I pulled that off Wiki, just something so y'all can see who's this Carl Westmoreland, who is Westmoreland, who this guy I keep talking about. So I just dedicated a slide to him so y'all could get a visual, and if y'all want to look him up, y'all can look him up and see further works because he can get his own presentation for real, the stuff he done did. So you go to the next slide. Here is the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. These are just some pictures that I took off the internet. Just to give y'all a visual. I like to give visuals. I'm a visual learner, so I like to present visuals as well, other than words. But if y'all want to look that up, y'all can look that up as well. You go to the next one. All right. Small win, big loss. I should say big loss. That's a big lose. My bad. All right. When the county finally allowed the city to incorporate in 1946, the boundaries were radically different than black residents had once hoped, encircling about 10%. Let's see, 1 square mile. One of the original proposals. The village now included no major factories or plants and no industrial tax base. Now, this is the slide I was talking about. When you don't have any factories, you don't have any industry, your tax, you basically taxing the homeowners, people that's already struggling. You already struggling. You can't pay no high tax rates. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta have payrolls. You gotta have a sewer system. You gotta have police. As much as we hate police, they are necessary. Without order, there's chaos. So I don't like the police just as much as anybody, but if the police was not around, it'd be a lot worse in my opinion. And you gotta have the fire department. If there's no fire department, you depending on your neighbors, you got to go wake somebody up, whatever. So without a good strong tax base, without a good strong economy in the village, you bound to fail. It's no stores, it's no corner stores there. It's no grocery stores there. You shopping outside, like I think Kofi was saying this one time. We make our money, then we go spend it outside of the community. They basically forced Lincoln Heights to do that by the zoning. You go to the next slide. So that's why I titled, you can still flip it, Kofi. That's why I put small win, because they got a small win by getting incorporated. But the big loss was it was only 10% of what they wanted. So out of 100%, you only got 10 of what you really wanted. That's a loss. That's a big loss. All right, recognition. Hundreds of residents. Hold on. Hundreds of this is that small one right here. See if you can zoom in. That's probably the only one that was small too. Zoom. Oh, okay, there you go. All right, that's good. Okay. Hundreds of residents worked at the nearby Wright Aeronautical Plant, manufacturing the B-29 bomber, and at the chemical plant a few blocks away, putting away money to improve their homes and secure their places in the black middle class. So successful was Lincoln Heights in its early days that New York Governor Thomas E. Dewey invited prominent officials to New York City for a ticker tape parade to honor the village as one of the only self-governing African American communities in the nation, according to Lincoln Heights by Carol F. Smith. Now, this was something that I did not know. I did not know, that and that's kind of a big win in that small loss. Or sorry, the other way around. That's kind of a small win in the big loss because, in its infancy stages, I didn't know that it was one of the first self-governing black communities in the nation. And for New York, a big city like New York, to recognize at the time little bitty small Cincinnati, because in them days Cincinnati was kind of small, so it wasn't even all the way developed yet. And for them to recognize Cincinnati and New York, that was an eye opener to me. So that was some recognition that Lincoln Heights got on a positive scale. You can go to the next slide. I think I'm winding down. Yeah. All right. The present state. Today, Lincoln Heights is struggling. The median household income is 25,000. It's less than half that of Blue Ash. And Blue Ash, Blue Ash is blue. That area over there is plush, man. Blue Ash is nice. It's a lot of Europeans over there. I don't go over there. Police, they'll pull you over in a heartbeat. They see you over there. So I don't go over to Blue Ash. I done been there before for work and had to go there for something, but I don't just leisurely be going up through no Blue Ash. Okay, a nearby majority white suburb. About 16% of the residents are unemployed, and 1/3 of the families earn below the poverty level. The schools are bad. Parents of about 40% of students send them. Sorry, I said that all wrong. Let me do that again. The schools are bad. Parents of about 40% of students send them to other schools in the area. So, and before I even knew this history, one of my homeboys, he actually is from Lincoln Heights. He in Lincoln Heights, probably still now. We went to elementary together, and yeah, man, this right here speaks to exactly how it is because he went to elementary in a whole nother city, and he went to high school in that city and everything, but he lived in Lincoln Heights, so. And it's a bad neighborhood, man. Like, people are always getting shot over there. It's always something going down over there. And I'm telling you, Lincoln Heights is only about, man, I want to say it's probably about 15, maybe 10 to 15 streets, man. It ain't big at all. Cause like I said, they only got 10% of the 100 that they wanted. It's a very small little area, man. And it go down over there, man. And the poverty is the reason why, because they do not have any infrastructure there. They don't have any businesses in there. If the businesses leave, that's just like with any big city, man. When the businesses leave, everybody else leave. You know what I'm saying? When the business is there, everybody comes there. Hey, go to my source page, Kofi, so they can see that. That's the last slide. I want to cite my sources. Yeah, so these are my sources right here, and most of the stuff that I pulled was from that Atlantic business um, website that the guy gave me. You know, we was discussing because we actually building some homes over there in Lincoln Heights right now. So the company I work for, you know, we trying to develop urban neighborhoods. You know, build brand new homes and give homeowners a chance. You know, so that's the type of work I do. You know, I'm responsible for materials, getting all the materials on site or ordering the materials so they can be shipped to site. From the smallest nail to the biggest 2x4, from shingles, bathtub, toilet, anything that goes in the house, I order that and we send it, and then the supervisors on site, they build the home for the homeowners. So people try to say, you don't do no work in the community. They don't say that to me, but I'm just saying, like, I do it. I don't brag about it. Since the topic came up, I brought it up. But yeah, that's how this whole thing came about. It was a European that was telling me, like, yeah, man, Lincoln Heights. It was an article I read about it, man. You should check it out. Like, and I read the shit and it hit me in the heart because I know Lincoln Heights. I used to run through Lincoln Heights. I got homeboys in Lincoln Heights. So it's like I hit Kofi up. I'm like, Kofi, man, I got something powerful I can add to this presentation. So yeah, that's my half of the presentation, and then Kofi gonna go into his on how white folks got so rich. And if anybody got any questions, I can't see the chat because I'm on my phone. But if anybody got any questions, let me know. Hey, Kofi, your mic muted. I don't know if you said anything yet.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I had my phone muted. But yeah, you muted, Kofi.
That's right. I'm just a talking away, man.
I'm like, Kofi might have been muted too long. I know he must not know.
I done forgot, man. You know I muted while you was presenting, man. Let me go back in, man. Wow. I'm just a talking. Uh,
What you think about that though, Kofi?
oh yeah, man. That was nice, man. That was nice. And then like some of the stuff that you talked about with the red line, and I don't know if it's on this one. I did, or it's on part 5 when I get started on it. But yeah, that was nice, man. And it's going right along with what the series is about.
Yep.
All
I just want
right.
the family to know, man, if you don't got any businesses in your community, the taxes, they're going to be high on your property. That's what I wanted to stress.
All right. I always have to put a disclaimer out here. To slide back up here. I was talking a while ago. It was muted, but my disclaimer is I am not a teacher, but merely a student sharing information, and that information provided is for the educational purpose only. And if you are in doubt, do the research and have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the right to change the focus of this presentation to shut down, sell, or exchange the terms of use at my own discretion. Our trademark, design rights, copyrights, registered names, models, logos, avatars, Assignments and marks used or cited by this website are the property of their respective owners. I reserve the right to add information as it comes available and or adapt, change, improve information as it comes available in the future. Inputs wanted, changes, additions, and deletions are encouraged. As I learn, we all learn. This is a saying of mine. I stand by this saying. Um, Also, let's get this culture is one of my new saying. Let's get this culture because a lot of us don't understand our culture, our customs, our traditions, our ancestors' way of life. So, excuse me, y'all, I'm burping. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm kind of be touching, I know, all over the place. Public education. We're gonna talk about public education. The fourth R, racism. Having been president of Princeton University, Woodrow Wilson is considered the most intelligent of the most U.S. presidents, but his public education policy was category wicked and declared. He wanted a class of persons who have liberal education, and he wanted another class of persons, a very much large class necessary to every society. To the foregoers, to the privilege of liberal education and fit themselves and to perform a specific manual task. The very much large class consists of blacks whose public schooling or over last centuries ensured that black students fulfilled that inferior role designated by President Wilson. Of the 15 states that uh spent the least on education, which we see that all throughout the black communities, they spend less as possible in our educational system. The funding is very, very, very low. And now they have it set up now where they do more testing. It's more about testing, and if you don't test high with these bias tests, then uh, your your school or your district won't get as much money as funded as possible to get new books, laptops, so forth and etc. 14s were in the South where most black students in Atlanta was $1.74 compared to $15 for each white student. In 1930, the only school and the Judah P. Benjamin school age children in the district were white customs, and law required that black children be in the field alongside the parents picking cotton. So they always strategize to keep us out uh, of those educational institutions and into those inferior roles. I talked about this a little bit. Well, I talked about this a lot in part 1, 2, and 3. Half a century after emancipation, the curriculum for whites in Birmingham, Alabama public school system, in addition to the 3 R's, include Latin, history, geology, astronomy, rhetoric, for what is psychology? What is that? Y'all help me with that.
Where you at?
Right here after rhetoric. So that psychology?
Sociology.
Sociology. Sociology and algebra.
Sorry, Kofi. That's physiology. Sorry.
Okay, physiology and algebra. While education for black focus solely on manual training, the city color school system incident was created and controlled by the city rabbi, who was also the B'nai B'rith, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, official, and only one in several libraries in the South to allow blacks to enter. Atlanta School Board President Hawk Smith declared in 1909 that the future of Georgia requires that 3 shall be no illiteracy among the white children by this. Let me read that again. Atlanta School Board President Hawk Smith declared in 1909 that the future of Georgia requires that 3 shall be no illiteracy among the white children by this discrimination. But I do not believe instructions from books except of the simple character it is any benefits and considerable portions of them. Those blacks who navigated this minefield and enforced ignorance still found rigid barriers at all of the major colleges and universities. Today, black students who borrow $120,000 to attend an elite college will earn only half of that, and his white half of that, and his white colleagues who paid only $60,000 to attend a literacy. Non-light university. In the 20th century, blacks and Latinos are more likely to attend high poverty schools than Asian Americans and whites. In 2011, the highest followed are those of blacks and Indians. American Indians. Research has shown that an additional socio-economic reality that deprives students of valuable resources, high-achieving black students may be exposed to less rigorous curriculum. And again, like I said, you see that all throughout a lot of, especially down here in the South, you see that um, a lot where the students are deprived of a lot of resources uh, that they may need. And again, that is new up-to-date textbooks, that may be new technology, whether it's dealing with um, desktop computers or laptops, computers, things for the labs, and etc. High achieving black students. Hold on. Research has shown that an additional socio-economic reality that deprives students of valuable resources, high achieving black students may be exposed to less rigorous curriculum, attending schools with fewer resources, and have teachers who expect less of them academically than they expect of the white students. And we see that. I see that
Also,
attendance.
quick,
Go
Kofi.
ahead. Go
Remember,
ahead.
I was telling y'all I don't really trust the city I live in because they don't send the kids home with homework, and everybody kind of giggled and was like, "That's what your kids tell you," but that's exactly what you see here.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you see, and sometimes I can't give it a pass for all of them, but some teachers will flat out tell me they just simply don't have enough books to send the kids home to do their work. So they try to
Mm-hmm.
condense it all down to being done in the classroom.
Yep. They less funded, and like I said, they send, like I know here, they are it's all about testing, 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 testing. This test that they have to test. So they test all year. And what they do, especially in the black community, those black schools, a lot of those tests are very biased. So those testing, a lot of those schools testing are very low. So when they score very low, then the people that allocate the funds to those schools, they don't have to pay this money for the schools. You know what I'm saying? So again, that's why they have less resources. Like you said, you mentioned books. A lot of them don't have books, don't have enough books for each student in the classroom, and so forth.
This white man told me this. I'm gonna let you get back. I don't want to cut you off.
Go ahead. You good? You good?
This is what this white man told me. He said you have to watch out because majority of schools you see nowadays are not schools. They just football teams with libraries attached to them. Now this was from a college professor telling me this.
They are nothing but. Say that again now. I heard what you said, but I want the family to know exactly what you said.
You got to watch these schools nowadays because majority of them are not schools. They're football teams with a library attached to it.
Yeah. Currently through 42 million blacks, 13% of the American population, they represent only 3.3 of the lawyers, 4% of the doctors, 3.4% of the engineers, 1.4% of the architects, and only 0.6% of senior management. Most of American private corporations simply refuse to hire black colleges of large private law firms, and the studies found, which I'll get into the studies, which you will see, they, even if they deprive us, they want us to enrich. Nothing wrong with going to these tech colleges and so forth, but they want us to specifically deal with the inferior work. So they also put all types of roadblocks up, in our local school systems in order and to deprive our babies of the resources that they need, that they might need in the world in order to get these types of corporate jobs and etc. And those who do get in those fields or try to or actually graduate and try to get into those fields, you see with some of the statistics here, they is very low. They're likely to hire, which we see that they're likely to hire any black person. You know, most of it is who you know, and most of them was going to hire families, their family members, and so forth. So again, you can see some of the numbers that 40 out of 42 million blacks, 13% of the American population, they represent only 3.3 of the lawyers, 4% of the doctors, 3.4% of the engineers, and 1.4% of the architects, and only 0.6% of the senior management. And let's get into some of the studies found. All right, the law firms Garhan, Gordon, and Rendell. Lawyers 206, one black. Philip Zars, Benjamin, Kern, and Ball. 92 lawyers, 0 blacks. Busker, Ross, Goat, and I might pronouncing this law firm wrong, Minson. Now it is called Pocan Rose. 194 lawyers in this firm. No. Hold on. Yeah, 0 blacks. I skipped one. 0 blacks in that one. Kale, Skoll, Fireman, Hayes, and Handles, now Kale and Skoll law firm. 209 lawyers, only 2 black hired. Rosman, Collin, Fraud, Lewis, and Kahn. Now Rosman and Colin. 193 lawyers in the law firm, only 1 black. And again, going back to this slide where it says, where I have only 3.3% of the lawyers. This is out of 42 black million people in America. Only 3.3% of them are lawyers. 4% of them are doctors. But this is, and I'm just showing you some of the stats here with these law firms. Very low, very likely to hire blacks. A generation after famous in 1954 Supreme Court desegregation decision, Brown versus the Board of Education, the highest federal court itself had 21 maintenance workers, all blacks, and 19 skilled craftsmen, all whites. And 10 years after the landmark civil rights legislation in 1965, the congressmen made white skin color a requirement to work in their office. So there you go there. Now they're still strategizing. Sundown towns. We talked about this. Vasa, did we talk about this?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Me and you talked about this the other day, didn't we?
Yeah, like Friday.
Yeah. And I told you I didn't know which presentation I had it on. I know I had it on one of these. What's the name? Like I said, I done these about a month ago. Might have been a little bit over a month ago. So I didn't know which one I had on all of them. But yeah, sundown towns. Literally 100 of American towns, many of them in the North, passed ordinance prohibiting blacks from living in them and from being in town after sundown. Maids, guardians, and sanitation workers were given time to leave at night. They came to be known as sundown towns, and some of them actually had bells or horns that would signal when blacks were to be vacant. The large builders of these segregated towns in the post of World War II area was William Levant, who built 4 massive towns and forbade the very presence of any person in others members of Caucasian race. So William, and I should have did a little bit. I did, but I took it away. I spoke about a little bit about William Levant. But yeah, he built these 4 massive towns, and he forbid the presence of blacks. You couldn't be black and lived in this town or this neighborhood. It was only for the members of his own race. His own race, the Caucasian race. He said a young black family that was made.
Kofi.
Go ahead.
You left a important part out, but I'm gonna see if you catch the question. Explain the consequences of being caught there after dark.
And that's what I was just before I got rid of the slide. I was gonna tell you to go in and let the family know if you was caught in these towns after sundown? What would be some of the outcomes will happen to those who were caught?
I'll give y'all a clue. They hide it under the terminology of calling it extra legal activity. But I want to see if anybody catches on to what happens.
What you want them to answer in the chat, Vasa?
Yeah, or the panel. But I don't really see any activity. So in these sundown towns, when that law kicks in and that sun is gone, if you get caught there, the typical punishment is a lynching.
Mm-hmm.
But I want y'all to get it through your minds that they still exist in some places. And it's like I was telling Kofi, a majority of these places where you see them exist now, that's where you'll see a white crime ring. The production of meth, bootlegging, things of that nature. Or they just may all out be racist, but a lot of the times they already have a huge criminal element in them.
Well, one young black family that was able to supuriously purchase a home in the Levant town was subject to a month-long terror campaign to drive them out. White burned crosses, smashed windows. We talked about this too the other night too, boss. Windows and persecuted the blacks round the clock. Republicans uh, pundit Bill O'Reilly was raised in Levant, Long Island. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who this Bill O'Reilly is, don't you? And is he still on the air?
Nah, I don't think he on the air no more. He said something that was a little too crazy. Can't remember what it was, but yeah, he's not on there no more.
Yeah, well, he's racist, but and Bill O'Reilly for some of those, he was a newsman or anchor cast or on CNN, which I don't really partake in CNN. It's one of the racist stations to me. Um, Also with a lot of the racial comments that are going on, and still racial comments going on now. Somebody sent me a post on CNN News. God, what was that? I forgot the woman name, and she was dang, I forgot what was going on. It was something dealing with an athlete, and she made a racist remark about the athlete and a stereotype about black people. That's one reason why I don't even look at CNN News. But yeah, Bill O'Reilly was raised in one of those Levant towns by William Levant, who was a prejudiced, racist guy who, built uh, housings and etc. in these towns and forbid blacks to stay in them. He said only his own counterparts, his Caucasians, could live in these towns and etc. Here is that's a news clipping where we talk about where they came in and certain parts of and this here matter of fact, this is in your area, brother Vasa. House burnings, dies and race riots at Tulsa in under martial law, 16 blocks under fire. And we'll see a lot of those things when we moved in certain areas that the European didn't want us in. This was some of the methods that they took. They would come and burn crosses, or they would send the Ku Klux Klan in. The Ku Klux Klan did a lot of the work. Uh, Burn crosses in front of your house and burn down homes or burn down blocks in the neighborhood with those who they wanted out of this specific area that they did not want blacks in.
Yeah, that played a huge part in the decline of the all black cities here. You see a lot in between, let's say, roughly 1918 through 1950. And you'll see it in the newspapers everywhere. It happened a lot, way more than what we know.
Mm-hmm. Builders like Levant and many others worked with discriminatory realtors and banks to ensure only whites could invest in prime real estate. This artificial increased uh, white homeowners' wealth as property values rose um, exponentially after World War II, and the equate in their homes allowed them to help the equity. I mean, excuse me, the equity in their homes allowed them to help their children secure property. Today, more than 3/4 of the white families is making down payments compared with just 12% from the blacks. True. Citizenships and immigration for whites only. Citizenships include the right to vote and own land and to be employed by American industries and unions. The earliest Webster Dictionary defined the term American as a citizen of the United States or the earlier British colonies, one not belonging to one of the Aboriginal race. Earlier than the United States Constitution weigh in on the matters of establishing that for the purpose of white political representation, blacks would be counted as 3/5 as human beings. Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 3. But even this obvious affront was deceptive because blacks actually had no rights at all. Not, and again, we didn't, and and one of the stipulation was in order to vote, you had to be a homeowner and you had to own land. Rights at right rights at all, not 3/5 or even 1/5, zero. The Supreme Court provided a coup de grace in the 1857 Dred Scott decision ordered that blacks were so far inferior that they had no rights, which the white man was bound to respect. All future American policies and practices was inculcated with these timeless wisdom. European immigrants had a long-standing favorable position in American society, and all were citizenships by the late 1700s. The 1924 Immigration Act established a total annual immigration quota of 164,667, and further uh, delegate uh, the number of interests by countries. A few examples of this marvelous legislation provide a perfect indicator of the racial intent of American white leaders. Country German immigrant annually, 51,227. Great Britain and Ireland, 34,007. Sweden, 9,561. Norway, 6,453. France, 3,954. Now, the African Americans countries, immigrants annually. Africans, the whole continent, 1,1200. Australia, 121,000. Palestine, 100. Syria, 100. Turkey, 100. New Zealand, Pacific Island, 100. So these numbers are lower compared to the European immigrants that came in. Uh, Even though African is the second most popular continent, it was treated as one nation as given 1/50th of the immigration allowance as single nations of Germany, which is 85 times smaller. As a newcomer, immigrants white never had to occupy the lowest level employment, and they moved quickly into position in traded unions and government and families. And I'll talk about this a little bit when we talked about the unions, how they strategize with these white unions, uh, and so forth. Families and ethnic businesses network were excused by blacks were specifically denied. Immigration laws and favorable quotas for Europeans severely limit the competition whites would have to face and secure their positions in the upper class. That's it. That's it. These are my references. I guess I'll be touching a little bit, I guess, on part 5 about redlining. Brother Satep touched on redlining with part of his thing. So here are my references. Majority here are a few references that I use. So I touched on the education part. Um the immigration part, working, and the percentages of after those who may have graduated, what are the statistics, and you actually getting a job in these corporation field. Somebody got their mic unmuted.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you could go back 2 slides to where you were showing the charts of immigration.
Here they are.
And that's 1924, right?
Yeah, 1924.
Okay, go to the one with Africa on it. I like to play connect the dots. Okay, if it says 1,200 came in annually from Africa for the whole continent, and it doesn't specify whether or not these was quote unquote sub-Saharan or black Africans in that chart, who's to say that more than half or a large fraction of that are not the modern day Egyptian or Arab descent people? Or as Sutek showed us, was it yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
The Berbers coming in. And if you look at the time frame, if that's 1924, that's when you see America have a huge, huge cultural shift and start getting into Egypt. So it could have been a lot of them coming over to capitalize off of that.
I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure they did.
In the movies, you know, the Mummy movies, Egyptian theaters, and things of that nature in that time frame. Everything from house curtains to tablecloths would be Egyptian based at that time, but we don't hear about it. I just wanted to put that thought. That's just, these are the types of things we should think about when we look at these charts. And that goes into me when I was saying we need to understand the difference in between cultural relativism when we research and ethnocentric research. And you have to know how to map out both lanes of that.
I'm gonna call you back in about 10 minutes. I ain't getting it. I'm doing a show. I'm gonna call it. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. My.
Oh, I'm good for now. I don't want to be baby long when.
Oh, you good? You good? But that's all we have, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the presentation by me and brother Satepa Mary Amen, you know, exposing a little bit more information on how white folks or how Europeans you know, strategized, you know, and lied and manipulated and stole and did certain things in order to maneuver themselves in a certain position and to put us in a certain position. Please go and subscribe to Seshuma Ani Metanetra group. It is a group of like-minded individuals who aspire to be true scribes. We're studying the language called Running Kemet and the writing script, which is called the Seshuma Netra. Please go subscribe to our Facebook page. Please go check us out on www.seshumaanimenetra.com for books. And if you're interested in the class, also check us out on Facebook. Also subscribe to Kofi Paisai TV. Is your first time on here today? Please subscribe before you leave. Hit the notification bell. Kofi Paisai TV is the channel that takes the black man, black woman, and black child Eurocentric mind and Africanize it. Please support the channel and subscribe. And please tell please tell a friend about the channel. Also subscribe to Master Warrior Clan YouTube channel. We are a group of researchers who specifically target West Africa, but we also deal with East, West, and South and Central Africa information. So please go subscribe to that channel as well. And go to our like page on Facebook and hit the like page. We have a lot of great information dealing with the whole continent of Africa on that page if you missed the presentation yesterday on Kofi Paisai TV by my brother Sutek, who is the Tureg. Please go and check that presentation out. That was a very informative and a nice presentation that was put together. If you missed some of the parts of how white folks got rich, go back in the archives and check out some of that information on there, and also check out the presentation that brother Vasa did last week. Nice presentation dealing with what happened to the black families, a discussion that's needed in the community. And that was only part one of his presentation. So he have a few more presentations that's dealing with what happened to the black family coming soon on Kofi Paisai TV. We'll be back next week on Kofi Paisai TV. What you dealing with next week, Sutek? Next Sunday, what you dealing with?
I'm gonna be dealing with the uses of the cowrie shells in Africa.
Yeah.
So basically, just touching on all the uses, the things cowrie shells was used for, how they was looked at in Africa.
He said cowrie shells, y'all. He didn't say stones. He didn't say stones and crystals. He said cowrie shells.
No, ain't no crystals. Ain't no crystals. Chakra movements and none of that.
I just have to mess with the family because I know a lot of us get African culture mixed up with the Hindu and Indian culture. I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying that's not our culture. So stop mixing the two. But that's all we have. Again, appreciate y'all. Tip and Rob Miram, you got any last words, man, before we get out?
No, I just want everybody to know I hope y'all enjoyed the show, and I hope y'all enjoying this this series, this 5-part series, man. And I enjoyed it so much I had to find my way in it because I'm like, Kofi, I got to get in on this some way, somehow. You know, Kofi always inspired me to do things. You know, he expanded my knowledge as well. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the show, man. That's it for me.
All right. What about you, baby Long Wind?
No, not really. I'm wondering if I should just kind of do like y'all two did and add my next presentation in to further the build, because it would be impossible to not touch on these subjects as the conversation progresses.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's what you want to do, I mean, we can make it happen. We can make it happen. So you saying you want to be a part of part 5?
Well, it depends. It all depends on. I want to keep it time, not duration, but I want to keep it time synced as I'm doing it as well. So if you
You can be able to do it because I mean, we
no,
did
what
this.
I mean by that is if you're gonna be focusing on zoning, that's almost 100 years after the next part.
But I mean, but see, each series I did, I touched on different aspects of what they did. I didn't focus on one particular thing. You know, like if you looked at this one, I didn't focus on one particular thing. You know, I went into the education, the workforce, and then I went into the immigration. So, you know, and then the other parts, the same thing. I just didn't touch on one particular thing. I kind of bounced around those certain things, exposing certain things that that they did. So I mean, it's up to you. You know, it's up to you. You just just let me know if you want to be a part of part 5.
Yeah, Vasa. If you got some science on how they got so, because the show is titled "How White Folks Got So Rich." He ain't saying no specific way. You know what I'm saying? It's just if you got something to bring to the table on how they got so rich, dealing with the title. You know, that's how I got in there.
Well, y'all know me. I'm all something to say.
Yeah, so go ahead and there you have it. Vasa gonna be on part 5. So when I do part 5, the last part, Vasa Nicolo Gala will be on the other part. So be looking forward for that. We'll probably do that one the week after next. Sutek is up next, so we'll deal Sutek Gonna deal with the core shells next week. So we're gonna keep coming and keep bringing the new content. Um, so be on the lookout for that. We'll appreciate y'all for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? I say that a lot. I don't know if y'all think I just say that to be saying, but I appreciate it. We all appreciate it because y'all could be doing something else with y'all time. You know what I'm saying? But y'all took the time out y'all schedule to listen to what some of us got to say. You know what I'm saying? So we really appreciate that, and hopefully, we'll be able to give back to those who appreciate this information, uh, and those who support us on a day-to-day basis, those who share our videos and we don't even ask. We really appreciate that. One, Sister Kylie, I really, really, really appreciate that. Sis, you share the shows and we don't even ask for you to share the shows, but you share the shows. So um I appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? We all appreciate that. And a few other people that share our shows, like Sister Kaba, appreciate Sister Kaba. She's another one. I don't ask for her to do those types of things. She just share the shows because she's appreciative of the information that we put out in the time that we take to put the information out to give to the family. So shout out to Sister Kaba as well. There's a few others I may be missing, but those two in particular in mind that comes to mind. And the other guys, I don't even have to thank them because they are part of the show. That's their job. They supposed to be sharing the show. So
You crazy.
so anyway, man, we'll see y'all next week, man. We'll see y'all next week on the Mossy. I don't know what we'll be doing next on. If you missed the show, the Masa Warriors Meet the Lions. That was a pretty good presentation. Dealing with well, actually, I talked about the Masa journey to becoming a warrior, junior warriors to becoming senior warriors to senior warriors becoming elder warriors. Those going from man, from boy to man, and going through these different journeys in order to become a Masa warrior and to be recognized as a Masa warrior. You had to hunt a lion, and this was to prove your bravery, and show you was fearless, and etc. So if you missed that one, go check that presentation out that I did today. I don't know what we're gonna come back with next week. I'm Sean still on vacation. I wish he come off of vacation. I have been doing some, I think the past month and a half, almost 2 months on the Mossy by myself. So, but I mean I can handle it while he get himself straight. I may come back, but we're trying to do something else. We're trying to have a special guest next week. Hopefully we'll be able to pull off the special guest on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel. I don't want to say who this person is right now, but hopefully we're trying to get this person on the channel next week. So hopefully we'll have that person on the channel next week where we interview this person and talk to this person. So be on the lookout. If not, get that person, then I'll be back with the Mangala presentation. It's a ancient game board game uh that started in Africa and made its way to Asia, made its way into the United States. So that'll be a pretty interesting that's a pretty interesting presentation. I just gotta buckle down and finish it. But anyway, we'll see y'all next time. Peace and Black African Power family and Shimim Hotep. Shimim Hotep just means depart in peace. I want everybody to depart in peace. And we out.
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment and captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. His faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. I'm raising my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I share. Green, purple, underhanded, I share. Five, I'm raising my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I share. Green,
I share.